Good, everybody. This your boy D Money. We on the second live of the night. What we're gonna be talking about is the customer we haven't met yet. This episode is primarily gonna, move forward from the last episode, the problem with fashion's definition of success. And all the day ones know that we open up with an opening question, and that ultimate question is going to be, what if the most important customer for a brand hasn't discovered fashion or even seen themselves yet? And ultimately, we want to ask as well too, who are you actually designing the future for? You feel me? That's the metrics that we're looking at today in this episode. So let's get right into it. Make sure that you guys like and subscribe. Make sure that you share with your friends and family. And, make sure you guys also check out our From the Mud collection, which is available on our website, along with all the other linking parts to it. So designers often design for the present. You know, fashion constantly asks what's selling now, what's trending now, who is buying, and what does the customer want now. But a fashion house has to think totally different. You feel me? The present pays the bills, the future gives the house a reason to exist. So, do you create balance, or you totally, focus in on that one direction? Because the danger of allowing today's customer to completely determine tomorrow's design is a struggle that all designers have to face within their design process, within, the development of products and so forth. The customer you can't see in your analytics. Your customer, can tell you who watched, who clicked, who purchased, who followed, where they're located, what they respond to. But analytics can't fully tell you who they'll become. That's where, intuition, design, leadership enter. You feel me? How do you design for a future desire that hasn't become measurable yet? Um, every generation changes what clothing means. Clothing means different things to different generations, different people. You feel me? The relationship between music, identity, fashion, status, and community, that changes constantly because everybody has a different, level of what they determine as luxury. And, a lot of people come from the street. I don't support nobody but myself. But something that represents freedom to one generation can also represent, nostalgia to another. A fashion house shouldn't only ask, what does this garment mean today? It should ultimately be asking, what can this garment mean 10 years from now? I'm building up a fashion brand. I'm in grind mode right now. That's the focus. You feel me? That's why we on the day in the life of a designer. You feel me? That's why, you'll see a lot of fashion podcasts on here and on the podcast streaming platforms. We in total grind mode right now. We trying to, get past 1,000 subscribers so that way we can start building this community. We got different types of material for business, material for fashion, material about our brand. It's all on our YouTube channel. You can check out our website as well too. We got our From the Mud collection. We also got a poetry book, From the Mud. We got the spoken word, which is on all streaming platforms. We got all types of material for you. You just gotta tap in. So let's get back to the, conversation at hand. Dreams of rulers, future customer. The future dreams of ruler customer merely by age or income isn't defined by that. They're defined by, the mindset. Someone who, values individuality, understands street culture, wants elevated design without abandoning, its cultural roots. Seeing clothes as a part of a larger, identity, appreciation for design rather than, simple logos and brand names. You know, someone that wants pieces with a story that, actually has impact and meaning, doesn't want to, dress exactly like everybody else. And, the challenge is am I building for the customer I already have or helping create the customer I want the house to have? And, you know, designing the culture before the demand exists, some ideas don't begin with obvious demand. The designer has to introduce a silhouette, proportion, a material, a philosophy, a way of styling, a way of thinking, ultimately allowing people time to understand it. And that's different from chasing, an existing market because sometimes the designer isn't responding to demand. The designer is creating the language that future demand learns to speak to. You feel me? What should the future customer inherit? Now you got to start to look at a customer in 2036, 10 years from now. You feel me? What should they find? Ultimately, they shouldn't just be looking for clothes. They should find a philosophy, an archive, a visual language, a documented journey, a collection that shows evolution, evidence of experimentation, and a clear point of view. They should be able to understand where the house came from, why it existed, what it was trying to change, and ultimately what the vision is. Building, for the person who will come after you, that brings, this whole entire episode back to the designer's responsibility. Feel me? Maybe, my job isn't perfect or predicted exactly what fashion, will look like 10 years from now. But maybe my job is to create enough substance that whatever fashion becomes, Dreams of Rulers has something meaningful to contribute to that. You feel me? And the easiest customer to design for is, the customer you can already see. They're buying, they're commenting, they're telling you, what they want. But a fashion house can't only exist in a response to the present. Eventually, you have to make something for somebody you haven't met yet, somebody who hasn't, discovered your work, somebody who might not even understand your philosophies or, your brand vision. Even understanding the, our philosophy of street luxury today. You feel me? That's the risk of building for the future. There are no analytics for it. You know what I'm saying? No guarantees, no proof. All you got is your belief, your faith that, the work that you put in will outlive the moment that, produced it. And maybe, that's what being a designer really means. Not predicting the future, but leaving something behind that the future can understand and use. You feel me? If someone discovers, your brand 10 years from now, what do you do or what do you want them to do to understand and believe before everybody else does? You feel me? Because at the end of the day, it's ultimately in the framework of, creating that balance between creating for today and creating for tomorrow, or ultimately deciding between the two. And when, you're a true designer, you're ultimately going to choose, to design for tomorrow. And that's what, I'm doing here at Dreams of Rulers. That's why, we came up with our own, philosophy and street luxury. We're attacking, that, building the framework of that, building the foundations of, a solid fashion house. And, what I'm saying? We're just building our, body of work for you guys to, indulge in. So make sure you tap in, make sure that you like and subscribe. Like I always like to say, in order to build achieve your dreams and goals, you must build a solid plan, must do the research, and you ultimately gotta execute. And once you execute, all your dreams and goals are gonna come to fruition. It's just you got to trust the process. So make sure you keep visualizing. Make sure you tap into our From the Mud collection, which is available on our website. We got the spoken word with 2 new spoken word videos, From the Mud and Twinkle Twinkle with Grease on the way. So make sure that you go ahead, tap in, like, and subscribe. It's on your favorite streaming platform. And we also got the From the Mud poetry book available on all book platforms and at your local library. So make sure you tap in, keep visualizing. I'm out.